Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. And today I want to talk about something that I think a lot of stackers may actually be using the wrong way, the gold to silver ratio. Because I hear this strategy all the time. People say when the gold to silver ratio gets high, I only buy silver. And when the gold to silver ratio gets low, I switch to gold. And on the surface, that sounds completely logical, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that there may actually be a flaw in this strategy. And I think there's another way to look at the ratio that makes a lot more sense long term. Congratulations to South Haven Coins and Bullions for getting to my comment section first in my last video. Y'all go down into the comments to find him and start a conversation. Now first, let's simplify what the gold to silver ratio actually means. The ratio is simply how many ounces of silver is equal to 1 ounce of gold. And that's it. If gold is $4,000 and silver is $40, then the ratio is 100 to 1. If gold is $4,000 and silver is $80, that ratio is 50 to 1. It's quite simple. But here's the important part. The gold to silver ratio is still ultimately just another expression of the gold price. That's it. It's the price of gold expressed in silver. And once I realized that, something clicked for me. Because think about this. If someone says, I only buy gold when the gold to silver ratio falls below 60, isn't that similar to someone saying, I only buy gold under a certain dollar amount? And the problem with setting a hard price limit is that markets move in unexpected ways. Imagine someone in 2024 saying, I'm only going to buy gold under $2,000. Well, what if gold never goes back under $2,000? What if it never goes back under $3,000 or even $4,000? The person may accidentally spend years sitting on the sideline waiting for a condition that never returns. And I think that exact same issue can happen with a fixed gold to silver ratio strategy. Because what if the ratio stays elevated for 5 years, 10 years, or even 15 years? Now suddenly we've unintentionally created a system where you only buy silver for an entire decade, or the opposite. Maybe the ratio stays compressed for years and now you barely accumulate any silver. And personally, I think that creates a dangerous imbalance because eventually you would stop managing a gold and silver portfolio and start chasing only one side of the trade. Here's the alternative approach that I would give you. Instead of focusing entirely on the market gold to silver ratio, look at the gold to silver ratio of your own holdings, your own portfolio, because ultimately that's the ratio that affects your financial life, not the market's ratio, yours. And that's completely changed the way I stack. Let me explain what I mean. Let's say your personal holdings are currently 70% silver and 30% gold. And imagine if silver starts massively outperforming gold. Even if you never buy another ounce, your portfolio will naturally become more silver heavy over time. Maybe it even gets to 80% silver and 20% gold. That shift itself becomes information. Not because the market ratio hit some magic number, because your personal exposure has changed. And this is where I think people miss something important. The goal is not necessarily to perfectly predict the market. The goal is to manage your own risk, your own volatility, your own financial balance. And I think the most important part is that you have to determine what type of holding fits you, because not every stacker should have the same portfolio. Some people are naturally more conservative. They want more stability. They want lower volatility. They want that portfolio that feels steady and defensive. That person may naturally prefer something like 70% gold to 30% silver. But someone else might be much more aggressive. Maybe they're younger, maybe they have a longer time horizon, maybe they can emotionally handle much larger swings in value. That person may prefer something closer to 70% silver and 30% gold. Neither is wrong. That's the key. The important thing is understanding the type of exposure you are choosing, because gold and silver behave very different emotionally. Silver can move fast, both upwards and downwards. Gold usually feels calmer and more stable. So when you determine your portfolio ratio, what you're really determining is how much volatility can I realistically handle. And once you know that, now your holding ratio becomes incredibly useful. Because instead of blindly following the market ratio, you can simply balance whenever your portfolio drifts too far away from the type of stack you actually want to own. This system adjusts to your reality, not predictions. If silver explodes upwards, my holdings ratios tells me that I want more stability. If gold massively outperforms silver, my holdings ratio is telling me that I may be too stable. And stability is not a problem, but it's not a benefit either. If you're too stable, you're not going to be able to take advantage of the volatility that is held in silver. So instead of saying I'm only buying silver when the GSR is above 80 or I'm only buying gold when the GSR is below 50, I focus more on maintaining intentional balance ranges inside of my portfolio. That means I'm almost always accumulating both metals over time, just in different proportions. And I think that solves one of the biggest flaws in this fixed ratio system. It prevents long periods where you completely neglect one metal. And this ties into something that I've been noticing about the market recently. I don't actually think that gold and silver are competitors. I just think they have different jobs. Gold is stability and silver is growth. Gold preserves and silver accelerates. Silver is more volatile but historically capable of larger percentage moves, and gold tends to be calmer and more stable. And because of that, I think your personal portfolio balance should reflect your stage in life and your emotional tolerance to volatility. A younger stacker may naturally tolerate more silver exposure, and someone nearing retirement may want more gold stability. Again, neither is wrong. That's why I think portfolio ratios matter more than just blindly following a market ratio. And personally, I still dollar cost average consistently. Every paycheck, 20% goes into precious metals, no exception. But most of that initially goes into silver because silver is accessible. You can build ounce by ounce. And then over time, when my holdings become too silver heavy in value, I strategically move portions into gold. That's how I slowly build towards larger gold positions without constantly directly buying gold pieces with cash. I've said before that I dollar cost average into silver and then silver cost average into gold. And honestly, this approach has helped me emotionally understand my stack much better because now I'm not obsessing over predictions or price ratios. I'm focusing on maintaining my balance. Now, obviously, this is not financial advice. This is just a framework that I'm currently using and makes sense to me. But I think too many people treat the gold to silver ratio like a traffic light. Green means buy silver and red means buy gold. And personally, I think reality is a lot more nuanced than that because markets can stay irrational for very long periods of time. And if your strategy depends entirely on one ratio returning to historical averages, then you may accidentally stop building a balanced stack altogether. So instead, maybe the better thing to monitor is the ratio of your own holdings. But I'm curious, what do you think? Do you use the gold to silver ratio? Or do you focus more on having a balance in your portfolio? And what kind of portfolio fits you personally? More conservative and gold heavy, or more aggressive and silver heavy? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go down and give it a thumbs up. Go into the comment section to start a conversation or continue one. Share the video with someone you think may like it and subscribe if you haven't already. And to my long-term subscribers, thank you so much for your support. As always, make sure you check out my website, josephsreserves.com, for any merchandise, zip-up bags, coffee mugs, or of course the It's Today Again coffee. But most of all, thank you so much for watching. And just remember, every ounce adds up. So no matter how small, just keep stacking. You can now write me at Joseph's Reserves, 10160 Highway 242, Suite 800, number 401 in Conroe, Texas, zip code 77385. Make sure to include your information so I can write you back.